Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Noble Motherhood podcast, where we share real and vulnerable stories about motherhood and our challenge to become more like Christ in every season. I pray with all sincerity that you have a week full of reminders of God's faithfulness to you and reminders of how much He is with you in and out of every season, in and out of every day, holding your hand, friend, and giving you the wisdom that you need to disciple the little ones around you or the older ones around you, depending on how old your children are. So we are going to talk a little bit today. This will be a shorter episode, but I want to talk to you about overprotecting your children and coming at it from a different angle than you may typically hear about or even think about. And yes, I am going to also talk about the coming day in October called Halloween. And I want to bring to the table some questions that I have for all of us when it comes to protecting our children from the things of this world that would hinder them or hold them back, I guess, in their innocence as children. And talking about there being an appropriate time for each of our children, a time of an appropriate age that we would talk about certain things with our kids. So I want to first bring to light the scripture in Philippians 4:8 that says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things." Last week, I had a conversation with my oldest son about Halloween, because at this time of the year, obviously all of us know that there are a plethora of decorations, if you call it, out in people's yards. And in my opinion, the things that you see out in people's yards have gotten increasingly more demonic and evil. And having little kids, I am 1,000% more sensitive to the things that my children are seeing as we get in the car and are on the road and pass by things, or we're taking a walk in our neighborhoods and they see things. So my oldest asked me a question last week. One of our neighbors had put out, a couple of our neighbors had put out some decorations in their yard. And my son had said, or asked me, "Mommy, why did they put that out in the yard?" So I decided to say something like this. I said, "Honey, there is a day in October this month called Halloween. And it is a day that people put things out in their yards to scare other people or to just kind of have fun in loose definition or terminology, whatever. But me and Daddy do not do anything for that day. We don't celebrate that day in any way because we believe that it does not glorify God." And I think he had said something else, but I don't quite remember. But that is basically what I had said to him. And I want to bring this to the table to you as we approach the end of October. And maybe you are trying to decide whether or not to participate in the typical Halloween activities, or maybe you have participated them in the past, but are maybe questioning if you should or should not. And I just want to be a mom talking to you, another mom, and asking you, why would you want your child to participate in a day that has most certainly gotten more evil and demonic in nature? Because it definitely has. I mean, I would say in the 90s, I'm 35, so I was raised in the 90s. Things were probably still, there were decorations in people's yards that were gory or whatnot. But I would say the majority, kids would just dress up as their favorite character, or yes, they would dress up as other things that are not particularly pleasant to the eye. But I would say over the years, because of the cultural shift in our nation, living in a post-Christian nation, I would wholeheartedly say, and things are turning, and the Lord is doing so much in our nation. But let's just say for sake of this episode, our nation has definitely taken a turn in values, in morals, and the culture shows that. So Halloween has gotten increasingly more evil. I don't know how else to say that, just to put it bluntly. And we do not want our children being any part of that. There's no reason to. If we are to raise our children up in the ways of the Lord and teach them to think in their head. This is what I told my oldest son and my middle son last week. We went over this scripture in Philippians 4:8. Think about in your head all that is good and pure and excellent and praiseworthy. Think about things. So we talked about, hey, like, what is beautiful? What is excellent? What's praiseworthy? Because what they're thinking about affects their mind, affects their emotions, affects their actions. And a simple day like Halloween is not just a simple day of Halloween of trick-or-treating, going around and getting candy. It's everything that they're seeing or dressing up like, seeing other children dress up as certain things, seeing decorations, that's going to affect them. And if we teach them, hey, this day does not glorify God, if this day is not pleasing to Him at all, we're not going to participate in it. And that's totally okay. I just want to challenge you as a parent, as a mom, to think about this intentionally and not just go with the flow because the rest of your neighbors are going trick-or-treating or you think it's just a cute holiday. It's not just a cute holiday or to dress up as something cute. I want you to actively, intentionally think about what is the objective, what's the purpose, what's the goal if you were to participate in this particular day. 1 John 1:5 says, God is light, and in Him there is no darkness at all. 1 John 1:5. God is light, and in Him there is no darkness at all. In overprotecting our children, I want to emphasize overprotecting. I believe that we are living in a time that we actually do need to overprotect our children because the amount of ungodliness or evil that our children could be privy to, seeing and hearing and observing is exponentially more great, I believe, in the times that we're living in. And like I said, there is a time and a place and an age to talk to our children about certain things, or for them to hear about certain things, to observe certain things, and to have those conversations with our children. And it is essential as parents to be in a position of recognizing age-appropriate conversations, age-appropriate, them seeing a so-called family that's not biblical. It's not a biblical husband, wife, children, family, of them observing that and asking those hard questions and having those hard conversations with our kids. That those conversations are going to happen eventually. But I want us to think about, in the little years, this is what I'm talking about. In the little years, taking more of a stance of, we are going to overprotect our children, to the point where the culture or other people around us may say some not so nice things about how we're raising our children, or like whether what I was going to say was homeschooling particularly, or making some certain decisions for your kids that you feel like are best. People may say certain things, or they may think certain things about your parenting, or me and my husband's parenting, but let them say or think whatever they want. Your job, your number one responsibility as a parent, is to protect your children and to be the gatekeeper of their heart in the little years. And as they grow up, those conversations happen and they develop their opinion. What I was going to say was, like, you're going to lay that foundation for your child of what is biblical, what is godly. You're going to have those hard conversations. And then as they grow up, you are still the gatekeeper of their heart, but it's going to change and widen as they get older and older and older into teenage years and obviously adulthood. Everything changes. But me and my husband just feel the enormous responsibility to overprotect our children and the culture that we're in. And that is specifically why we've chosen to homeschool our boys, for as long as we believe it's going to be necessary. Because we wholeheartedly believe that, especially the public school system, and I say this without judgment. I want you to hear me when I say this, but we personally feel like the public school system is throwing a child into the lion's den because of what is taught in the public schools currently and nowadays. Do you actually know what is taught to your children? Do you know what is being said to them on the bus? Do you know what their little ears are listening to? And do you want their little ears to hear the things that they're hearing at their age? And if you're okay with that and having those conversations now, that is totally up to you as the parent, right? And I respect you for that. But I want you to understand too, from the perspective of, I feel deeply saddened that our culture has changed so significantly, friends, that it does actually require on our end, in whatever capacity, to overprotect our kids until the time is right and until they're age appropriate for things to understand and hear about. So I hope all of that makes sense to you. I wanted to lay this out there just because we are approaching Halloween, and This particular month, as the boys get older for me, I just think more and more deeply about this topic of how can we preserve their childhood? How can we preserve their innocence? How can we preserve their purity of heart as little ones before they are going to be aware of more things of the world? And I say all of this knowing that we are called to be in this world, but not of it, right? We're not called to segregate ourselves as Christians and not be in the world. We are called to go into the world and make disciples amongst the nations. But that requires wisdom and discernment and knowing the right time as a parent. And I implore all of us, challenge all of us to really know the right timing, to not rush out of thinking that your child is going to be behind, to not rush because of family pressure opinions or friend pressure opinions or whatnot. I challenge you to make decisions as a mom using your God-given intuition, using your God-given quiet. That intuition comes from a quiet knowing through prayer of what your child needs in this season that they're in. So, with all that to say, I just wanted to share an episode specifically about this just to get our wheels turning, especially, like I said, in the month of October. Always brings this up for me because of what is around in people's yards, and there's more to it, there's more to it than just Halloween decorations. It is a extremely vivid representation of where the culture is at. And I'm not even just talking about decorations. I'm talking about things that you see on TV, ads, shows that are so dark and demonic at this time of the year. It's just a picture of where we're at. But I want us to be encouraged too, as Christian families, to be encouraged that in the midst of the darkness, that we can shine the light of Jesus in our neighborhood in a different way. We just don't have to participate, in what our neighbors are doing or what the other friend groups are doing. We can be the light of Jesus in other ways. And, one of the things, as I soon close this episode out, but one of the ways my husband had told me the way that we can do something different on Halloween is celebrating Reformation Day, celebrating that day and teaching our boys the historical meaning of that day instead of doing Halloween. It has a much more deeper meaning, and we want our boys to be aware of what Reformation Day actually was, and having German food and learning, German songs or whatever it is, but like making it just a different kind of day that has deep meaning that is far more important than what Halloween brings to the table for everyone. So I bless you all. I pray that this episode I truly did not want to share it to offend anyone, but I really want to challenge us with this particular topic, and maybe there's something else that comes to mind for you. And if so, please feel free to message me, email me at hope@noblemotherhood.com, and I would love to have a conversation with you. So I bless you, and until next time, next episode, have a wonderful week. Bye.